Morning folks, hope you're doing well. Made it back to Clumber Park. It's just before 6 AM. Oh boy, does it feel it. Or do I feel it? What I've done today is try and make up for yesterday. I've come into the other side of the park. Yeah, it's a lot cooler. It's 11 degrees this morning, it was 17 yesterday. Sun's just coming up. See that beautiful light? And I've just dropped into this little bit of a wood. I've never been in here before, which is why I came in. And it looks like Camp City. These temporary wigwam stick shelters that are built. There must be 7 in here. I'll just show you a few. There's a campfire scar behind me. 1 behind this tree here, 2, 1 in the background over there. 3. And there's a couple more down here. A couple more down here. I don't know how they get away with fires in here because it's run by the National Trust. Any sign of smoke and security would have been on them. But they clearly have had a fire in here. Lean-to here. This has got a double bedroom, this one. Little doorstep there. Oh, probably one here for the dog. Some really nice light this morning. And in an attempt to recover myself, which is all I ever seem to do here, I'm heading down to, it's a bridge, I believe was built in the 1700s. Very sadly, a shithead stole a car, smashed it into the bridge and did a load of damage a few years ago now. And I've read that the police divers extracted some of the stonework as a training exercise. They floated a pontoon in the National Trust and reconstruction should have begun. I don't know how COVID's affected that progress, but I thought I'd come out, head down to the water side. I'm here just before 6 AM, trying to avoid getting spotted if I can. I'd like to be out for 8, see what the progress on the bridge is, and hopefully get some early morning water shots if I can get down to the edge. Yeah, I'm on high alert. I'll bring you back as soon as I find something. Wow, bridge is repaired. This just gives me goosebumps. It's so amazing to see. Everybody was so heartbroken when they saw that the bridge had been smashed to pieces. It's been a couple of years, but it's all brand new. Oh man, that's amazing. I'll show it you all, obviously. I just wanted to explain where I actually am. So right in front of me is the lake. Part of the big 83-acre, I think, serpentine lake belonging to the Clumber Park estate. And in that direction, straight ahead of me, behind you, yeah, there's a road. After it's about 3, maybe 4 miles, it becomes Sherwood Forest. And that's exactly what this used to be before 1707, part of Sherwood Forest. Obviously we didn't have any of the ornaments or houses or anything like that, but this area, this entire area, all 3,800 plus acres of it, wow. It was all part of the original Sherwood Forest. Let me show you. Are you ready for this? Bear in mind, just over a year ago, none of this was standing. It was all gone. Somebody completely run a car through and smashed it all down. What a fantastic job they've done. Wow. Just wow. Even these centre pillars were gone, these large stone pillars. It was all completely gone. I think it was this side that took the brunt of it. You see how old the original stonework was. Heart there carved into it from probably hundreds of years ago. How amazing. What a fantastic job. Well done, National Trust. Credit where credit's due. I'm not a fan of your car parking charges, but you've done a smashing job here. Absolutely. Oh, what a smashing job. This is the tail end of the Serpentine Lake. And over there in the distance, you can just see the spire of St Mary's, which is the chapel that was attached to the mansion house. Oh wow, I'm excited to get a photograph of the bridge. I have old shots of it. If I can find one, I'll pop one of those up now. And then if I can get a shot now, oh, looks so good. I'll put the comparison up as well. Morning, ladies. How you doing? Oh, the water level's up. Normally take a couple of paces into the water. There's a few rocks and it helps your composition on the bridge. Okay, just before I shoot the bridge, I'm going to take a shot of this little weir waterfall. There's a nice composition here, and it's based on an overhanging tree, some greenery in the background, so we don't have any sort of, usually there's distance to draw the eye, whereas this is quite contained. There's not too much rolling water, but it's nice to get this a little bit misty because it's quite short. There's more contrast in the whole image. So I'll show you what I mean, and then I'll set up for the bridge over there. That's framed by two overhanging trees, albeit them quite bare. It still makes for a nice composition. The sun's striking it right now, so I'm happy to let that move on a little ways, hopefully, and I can get a nice shot of the bridge. So this shot here is hard to communicate with a GoPro, but basically I'll frame the little light point there in the top right hand third of the frame, and this will act as a leading line through, supported by the contrast here. None of that brightness on the left hand side over there will come into frame. And this is what I've currently got. I can't wait for this anti-glare screen to come. I'm at f14 to get as much sharp as I possibly can. Third of a second to give me some motion in the water. ISO 100, just dropping down underneath true exposure. I'll take the shot. I just checked my focus actually. I went manual focus, but that's okay. Just on those rocks there, in fact, I'll just bring my focus down so it's a sure thing. Take another one. And then hopefully we've got some... Why am I trying to show you that on camera? I'll process it and I'll pop it up on screen now. Okay, I've got a composition on this bridge But there's a problem with it, and that is that all around the bottom of the frame, I've got dark shadows here, dark green water, and then I've got the highlight of the sun reflecting off the water and the sun directly hitting the bridge, plus white fluffy clouds in the background. So all this dark and all that bright, if I expose to the bridge to get that correctly exposed, this is just a blanket of black. And if I expose to somewhere in between, the bridge gets blown out and the shadows are still dark. All that means is the dynamic range between the highlights and the shadows, the bright brights and the dark darks, is so wide in light terms, the camera can't expose evenly to capture this particular frame. Now the cloud, as I say, is rolling in, so it may be that in a little while, it's happening now, sun's just ebbing and bouncing off the front of the bridge. I'll show you the viewfinder. I don't think I'm going to get a shot of this today, but we've got this water shot, so that's at least one in the bag. So this composition is with the first support of the bridge on the left-hand third of frame, with the thought that the light will just bring the eye in. Framed over the top by the trees, the rocks in the foreground, but as you can see, it's not happening. I've played around with my shutter speed, and if I dial it down, the bridge gets completely blown out, the rocks come into exposure, and if I go the other way to bring the bridge into a decent exposure, the rocks get completely cloaked in shadow. They don't always work, it's the reality of it. You've just got to have a go. You need to set up, and without a light meter, you use your camera. So that's it. I'm going to take a few more shots here. I'll have a bounce around, see what I can come away with. The light is nice in and around here right now, but the wind's picking up, so there'll be motion in the trees. But it's not always a bad thing. I'll just check out what we've got. I'm going to head this way a little way, see if I can get a shot down towards the chapel, but I'm not going to go too far because I really shouldn't be here. And then I'll call this the recovery. Nemesis Part 2. It won't be the last time I'm here. I'd like to come back on my bike. I need to get some miles in my legs. And I need to get into Sherwood. There's a few places I need to visit, but I can only get on two wheels. And if I'm doing that, I can come here, but come in from the Sherwood Forest side, rather than drive in and upset anyone, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to try and get another shot of these little baby ducks. They are sweet. I wish I bought food. I will definitely get a bag of seed for the car. Or sweet corn they eat, don't they? Look at the sweet corn and lettuce. 2 of 5 a day at least. Right, enough waffle. I'm going to mosey on. And I'll catch you in a bit. Alright folks, I've been playing around here for half an hour, struggling with the composition as I tend to do. I do in this spot because I'm shooting with a 50mm lens, so I don't have the ability to zoom in, and the chapel is a fair way back over the edge of the lake here. But the clouds rolling in and it's damping down the sun every now and again, but even so it's still too bright. I've got the reflection on the water plus the light sky in the background. The church is quite dark itself, plus it's in a little bit of shadow because of the direction of the sun. So it's always quite tough, but you do get really nice shots here when the light is correct and it's at the right time of day. Now's not it, but I've moved down towards the water's edge. There's the chapel, and that's what the sky looks like with the sun just over to the right there. So it is casting some quite deep shadows on the chapel. So just show you my composition, and what I've done is I've dropped the chapel into the bottom right hand corner there on the thirds with the waterline buzz off. Trees balancing out the frame a little, I've stuck my polarizer on just to try and get rid of some of the glare off the water. Even with all that said and done, I'm at f22, so a tiny little aperture, which is giving me 0.4 of a second, and I'm 2 stops overexposed. Don't think I'll... yeah, the histogram is as far to the right as I can possibly get. Any further and I'm going to start blowing out the highlights. That really is as good as it gets. And I'm focused just below the chapel. There's a shrub to the front left hand edge there. I'm focused on that because at f22 the entire frame should be pretty sharp. So I've taken a couple of shots, but I'll take another for look. It's prime time for an ND filter. I could probably stick an 8 stop on there quite easily, and it would give me a lot more flexibility in the dynamic range to try and pull up some shadows, dampen down the highlights and even out the exposure. But I don't have ND filters, so I just use a polarizer usually. That's all I generally need in the woodland. So I'm not a big water shooter. I don't get the opportunity very often. Time is now 7:30. I need to move. I've got to get out of here. So that's me for today, folks. Thank you very much for watching. As ever, please take care of one another, and if you can't be good, don't get too close to the water, and just be careful. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.